Hello and welcome back to another video for Final Fantasy XIV with me, Meoni. Today we are of course talking about the final ability to get our mount. So with this turned in, then I should have enough currency to actually eventually purchase the mount in question. We were just on that for a special quest. You'll see that we're up to 540 rep out of 720. So in actual fact, tomorrow will be rank 5 rank up. So we'll be able to do another video for that. But today we're going to be looking at the mount. Finally, I've finally got enough 18 currency to be able to get the Branchbearer today. So let's go look at this. The text on this mount says, then summon forth your Branchbearer. If it looks like a bird, flies like a bird, and cries like a bird, then it could be a predatorial seedkin disguised as a bird. It says the Branchbearer is employed as a companion plant in Golma, where it protects crops by deterring pests with its etheric emissions. In the past, the species was so aggressive that it was known to actively hunt animals for sustenance, but the Dawntrail people have succeeded in their domestication. We have an action button called Shrouded Luminescence, which is the button you can press. That you might remember this if you've done any of the daily quests before. You might have got one where you're on the back of one of these birds and you're using this on crops, and it says quickens life energies to emit a burst of ethereal light. Obviously this isn't a battle related thing, it is just an extra little cool thing to have on your mount. And there's the footprint. If we highlight over the character here, it says truly a more effective deterrent I could not imagine. A quote there of Alphino. Very cool. Okay then, here we are in my favorite zone in the game, Museum Step, and this is what the mount looks like. Wow, that is cool. I mean, I know we saw it briefly on a series of quests. I finally got to do the quest today where it was involved, where we went around and did things, but to actually have this in our collection, very cool. I do think though, in my opinion, that this should have been a later reward. I do find that mounts being one of the first rewards kind of sucks a little bit. Personally, I prefer it when, you know, you have to wait a little bit to actually get mounts, but we'll have to see what the other rewards are. We'll have to see what the amount of currency we need for those is. It looks pretty cool. It's a little bit derpy, a little bit like a bird, basically, as it trubs around, leaving these particle effects behind. It's a small amount, but it's really nice and glowy. It looks pretty cool when it flies. Yeah, you can see this a mile off, and it's one of the flashier, cooler mounts that they've added to the game. Ever since I saw Yaktal, I wanted this mount, basically. It also has an action button. It doesn't do anything, you know, actually that affects the game in any way. It says quickens life energies to emit a burst of ethereal light. It's Shrouded Luminescence, which basically forces your bird to erupt in light particles, light ether, and it's pretty cool. It is pretty cool, much like some of the other tribal mounts we've had before, leaving those particles. You can also do that whilst flying as well, which is pretty cool. Yeah, it's a pretty nice mount, isn't it? I love the texture quality on this, and I hope that they add more of the creatures that have been added in Dawntrail to repertoire of things that we can, you know, put a character on and mount. And of course, there are lots of them from before Dawntrail as well that we're still waiting for. But yeah, really cool one. Nice one to add to our collection. The mount music, if you're interested, unfortunately, is generic mount music. It is not associated with that of the actual Allied Society quest, which is, again, a missed opportunity. However, they do not do that all the time, and majority of the time, it's pretty rare if we get something, you know, mount music that's associated from the place that we get a mount, unfortunately. It seems to be associated mostly with mounts from content, where you get the content's music, you know, like duties, things like that. Occult Crescent's mount with the airship, things like that. More big ticket items. This is more of a freebie, really, from just doing, you know, essentially a couple of days of dailies. Yeah, let me know if you've got this one yet. It's pretty cool, though. Look at those eyes. Whoa. Terrifying. What a horrific idea. It kind of reminds me of like an undead creature from like something I've seen in fantasy films before. like an undead horse or something. The luminosity of this mount looks absolutely awesome at night, much like Yaktal itself, obviously with all the bioluminescence going on there. Obviously the Branchbearers have got that somewhere in their sort of DNA. They are pretty fantastic creatures. I remember when we first went to Yaktal, I was like, I really would like to get that as a mount. I say that about most creatures that I see in this game though, and Dawntrail added some really cool models, and this is certainly one of them. I'm super happy that this one is in our collection, which is especially evident with the special action button at night. Holy moly, it's almost like we're erupting with stars, you know, all of these tiny little fragments, these petals, particle effects. They look so cool in the night. Holy moly, you can see this from a mile away. Awesome. But yeah, to think that this is not actually a bird, it's actually a seedkin. Very strange, isn't it? A construct, basically. Interesting.